on, hobby family? It is your boy K-Dub. This is K-Dub's High Five, 5 rapid fire questions with your favorite hobby faces. And today we bring in a true hobby favorite. He is a content creator. He is an influencer. He is TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Man, the man does it all. He's everywhere. My friend Jay from Mojo Sports at Mojo Sports LLC on social medias. How are you doing, bro?
What's up, man? Doing pretty good, bro. Glad to be here.
Heck yeah, I'm so excited that you were down to do it. It's going to be awesome to hear a little bit about you and your collecting, but also a little bit about Mojo Sports. So I got 5 questions, all hobby related. Ready to take on the high five?
Let's do it.
All right, man. Question number one, Mojo Sports. Kind of walk me through the origins of it. Kind of how did Mojo Sports come to be? Like, how did you come to be what you are today? Where did it start? Kind of give me the origin story of Mojo Sports.
Yeah, man. So, Mojo back in the day when I was 14, if you, the what Mojo means the best, right? And if we always say last pack Mojo. The
Yeah.
name came from that. Originally it was Mojo Autographs, and I rebranded during COVID to Mojo Sports. I had gotten my marketing degree. COVID happened. I had nothing going on in my life, just like everybody else. And I went through a breakup in December of, 2020, and in 2021 I was like, you know what, I'm ready to travel. I need to do something with my life. I'm a mess. I'm depressed. I'm doing this hobby, but that post breakup, I was like, you know what, I need to do something with my life. And I started the brand. I went to Dallas Card Show, and I hate to say it, but the rest is history.
And now that's what you do, man. You travel around, you're building content, you're building the brand. Is that kind of what the story of the life is right now?
Yeah, man, I can live from anywhere, man. I just moved to LA. I make the joke I was living in my mom's basement for a little bit here, but
Yep.
no judgment. I decided to take the leap of faith. I moved to LA, but I can work from anywhere. And it's the best thing about being a YouTuber and an influencer and just being honestly, I'm just a true collector, man. I just love sports cards a lot, and it changed my life, and I get to meet so many cool people and people that love the hobby just as much as I do, and I think that's super cool.
Absolutely, man. I love how you pointed out that you're kind of going through a tough time, and really the hobby kind of helped pull you out of that. That's pretty special and pretty unique, and a pretty special connection to sports cars and the hobby itself.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been sober 5 years, and
Okay.
my sobriety means a lot to me, but also sports cards changed my life. When my sister had passed away in 2016, that was hard for me. And I was around this community of sports cards and in-person autograph collectors. And like, this community has always been there, and it's been there through the great times of traveling to Canada for the first time and
Yeah.
going to Dallas and going to my first national and opening packs of cards with kids and like all this stuff. So it's good. No matter what, the hobby's always going to be around,
For
and it's
sure.
been there during the hard times, and it's during the best times of my life, which is like the last 3 years.
Man, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I remember I was watching your shorts that you did from the Toronto show, and it was throwing me off how it was like you were talking American dollars, Canadian dollars, like in your conversations. Man, that must have been so wild to have that, because you don't think about that being in America, obviously, that the exchange rate of, especially when it comes to sports cards, right? I paid 1,000 US dollars, which is this much Canadian. I don't know. It was interesting to me. So I was trying to do
Yeah,
the
dude, it
I was
was.
trying to do the math in my head anytime you'd say it. So
Yeah, it was super confusing, but man, if I could go back, I would go back in a heartbeat, dude. There's so many good deals over there.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about your collecting, your hobby journey. When it comes to that, like, who would you credit as some of kind of your biggest influences? And we could also talk about the business influence as well. But speaking for your collector side, kind of who influenced you when it comes to sports cards?
Yeah, man. I think I collect DeMarcus Cousins and Aaron Rodgers. Those are my PCs. And I think if it wasn't for them, they're a big part of why I collected sports cards. They brought me joy. I mean, personally getting to know both of them in my life, they watch me grow up. And it's pretty crazy to say that about two athletes like that. But
Sure.
from a professional side, those guys, and then from the hobby side, Kentucky basketball cards, Jimmy, Rob from Burbank cards,
Yeah.
Ryan card collector too, and just a bunch of other people. Tracy Hackler from Panini, I always credit him because I was 14 watching that guy, and he was so excited to open cards, and he was
Mm,
so like nice to everybody in those videos, and he's just like that in person. And Tracy, he's at Roadshow Cards. He was like one of the coolest guys, and Scott Prusha and all the Panini people. I
absolutely.
just always like, I've always believed it's attraction, not promotion. And I think like when this hobby is like an attractive thing, like in the sense like nobody's pushing it on you, I think that's like where the real genuine stuff starts to go down. And like that's kind of what those people that I just mentioned are all genuine,
Mm.
amazing ambassadors of this hobby.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. I've actually had a handful of those guys on the high five. And I can say I've met Jimmy Mahan. I went to a basketball game with him. He took my son and I, and he is the exact person I thought he was and more. I mean, there's no front, there's no facade when it comes to social media versus real life. I mean, and then Tracy Hackler the same way, as well as Ryan, card collector too. He's been on here as well. So some awesome dudes in your influensive circle there. I love it. All right, question number 3 for you. When it comes to your collecting, you mentioned DeMarcus Cousins, who randomly he was my first ever redemption auto that I ever got from Panini, and I got it
Wow. Oh, he signed it. Let's go.
back in the good old days when
Yeah.
redemption came through. But when it comes to like the Grail card for you in your collection, what card would that be and why?
So it used to be the DeMarcus Cousins RPA from National Treasures, but we were at some rink-a-dink. Actually, I shouldn't say rink-a-dink. I'd never been to this show in my life, Hofstra Card Show, and like we put a video out calling it the East Coast National. It's a lot of vintage, and it's in a college.
Okay.
It's a huge show, honestly, to them. For me, I was like, what the heck is this? There's all vintage. Like, and then this dude had a DeMarcus Cousins NTRPA, which I had never gotten to own because when I was 14, I couldn't afford it. And DeMarcus
Yep.
was playing really well. So anyway, I found it there. So now I would say probably the DeMarcus Cousins RPA logo men, the true one,
Yeah.
from National Treasures, and then probably for Aaron Rodgers, probably his refractor. I mean, I got his refractor chrome. I got him to sign it last summer. So I mean,
Nice.
my rule with Aaron is Aaron's cards are super expensive. So I've actually joked around and said like your cards are really expensive, but if you can sign the ones that I have, I keep them, and he always signs them. So he's cool.
Well, that's cool, man. I love his little segment on the McAfee show. I'm a big Vikings fan, so I've hated Aaron Rodgers for a lot of years.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, his personality and just the way he is and talks and shares on that, I've come to appreciate him as a person, and he's got a good sense of humor too. So he's got a little comedic side to him as well. So
He's a great guy.
yeah, that's very, very cool. All right, man. Question number 4. All the money in the world. You can rip any box that you want in the history of the hobby. What box are you ripping and why?
Man, I just talked about this in my video. It's going to be 2009, 2010 season update basketball. And people are probably wondering why.
Yeah.
That was the first hobby box I ever opened. And dude, you have no idea. So I opened the box and I was new to the hobby and I put all my cards in a binder. And 3 to 6 months later, I don't remember when it was, I was 14 or 15 years old. And I'm going through the binder and my dad's cleaning the garage and my mom's there. And I look and there's a Kobe and it's blue. And I'm like, but it looks like a base card. And I pull it out and it's Kobe 1 of 1. I pulled a Kobe 1 of 1 from my first hobby box ever. I've never told the story. I just kind of let it go. I gave that as a gift to a true Kobe collector.
No
But
way.
if I could relive it, I just want to open the box again and just relive the memory. And like, I remember screaming and like crying to my parents and like, they didn't understand, but they saw that I was happy. And, a lot of people would say 0304 exquisite, and that's just not my thing, man. I would take that nostalgic. I'm a big nostalgic guy, man. Like you can sell me memories all day.
Mm. Oh man, I love that. I love that, man. That seems like it should be on a hobby T-shirt right there.
Yeah.
Now, my question is: you were excited several years when you found out that you had a Kobe 101, but for 4 or 5 years, that thing was just sitting in a binder.
Like 6 months. It was
Oh,
only
six,
6 months.
6 months.
I had a just to tell a story. There was a kid in LA and he was Persian. I'm Iranian, so half Persian. My dad came from Iran and I'm half Persian. So the kid was also Persian. He had an unbelievable Kobe collection and he would send me DeMarcus Cousins cards for Christmas. This is the hobby in the heyday. I always say it's the golden age of the hobby, but
Yep.
now it's the golden age. But that time if you knew someone collected someone, you sent them the cards. You knew their address from a prior deal, and he sent me DeMarcus Cousins like RPAs, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So I gifted him on his birthday the Kobe 1 of 1 as a gift.
That's
And
awesome.
I've never seen the card, and I haven't talked to him in 10 years.
Wow.
I just put a bounty out. If someone ever finds that card, it's a season update 0910. There's only one. It's a Kobe Bryant. It looks like a base card. I'd pay like $4 to $5 grand for it just to have it.
All right. Well, for those of you tuning into this high five right now, there it is. If you know any whereabouts of this Kobe 101, drop it in the comments or hit my man up at Mojo Sports LLC. Let him know that you got it. So very cool. I
Yeah,
can't promise you it's going to happen, but you never know, man.
it's all good. You never know in
Yeah.
the hobby.
All right, man. Last question for you, man. I feel like you really kind of got your pulse on the hobby and the direction of the hobby. As you think about the hobby kind of moving forward, 2023 into 2024, a lot of changes coming. What kind of gets you excited maybe for the collectors, maybe old collectors, or maybe even those new collectors who are just getting into the hobby? What things are you most excited about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say new. I mean, I like the low hanging fruit answers could be like new product, game use, fanatics taking over this, that, that's cool, but whatever. But I would say, I don't know. I'd say like more card shows and like more like interactive trade nights and interaction with players. I think that's important. But in terms of excitement for the hobby, there's just so many things happening all the time, and like I've always said, like I've always seen like the joy. I get to experience joy, but when I see someone else experience joy by getting that card, I think like there's something there with that.
Absolutely.
But I'm optimistic, man. I think the hobby's going in a good direction. I've always said this, and this goes out to anybody else watching, like anytime in life or business or whatever you're going to do in life, like the experience is always what you're going to make of it, your attitude. And if you don't, if you have a good attitude toward things, like you'll enjoy it. Like the hobby is going to go like this. I don't know if they can see this or if it's an audio one, but the hobby is always going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. Just if you're a true collector, you'll survive all that.
Absolutely, man. That is fantastic things to give to anyone. I mean, anyone who's been in the hobby for a long time or anyone who's new to it for sure. So, all right, man. You've been mentioning some names and some interactions. So I just got a question for you here at the end. When you think about some of your highlight moments as far as being a part of the hobby and especially being a part of Mojo Sports, kind of like what is one thing that comes to mind that just like blows your mind that you got to experience it as a collector, as a person? Maybe it was an interaction, maybe it was a player that you met or a person that you met, but like what's one moment that stands out in your mind that you're like, I can't believe I got to do that? And it's because I'm a part of the sports card community.
Mm, there's a couple, man. I mean, I could say interviewing Derek Jeter, that was unbelievable. And like New York always has a special place in my heart. Some of the craziest things that have ever happened in this brand and conversations and meetings have happened in New York for me.
Yeah.
Um, but I got to go back and go back to my roots and say, like, I see kids at the shows. I remember being 14, bro.
Mm.
I know the feeling. I know that feeling, being lost or, enjoying the hobby or trying to figure things out. And I see myself in the kids in the hobby, and that means a lot to me. Every time I see it, it gives me a little bit more humility and a little bit more like grace in my life, like peace of mind. When I see a kid in the hobby and I'm like, I could go and use these sports cards as a vehicle to like bring all this together. And like, dude, it's better than any sports card deal I've ever done in my life.
Mm.
And that's like a lot of it happens off camera, to be honest with you. And I'm cool with it. Like when we record something and it does happen on camera, it just shows you guys that this exists in the world. But if it doesn't happen on camera, it's like even 20 times better because I go places and I remember I have a good memory. So I remember like visuals of like things happening. Like when I pulled the Brandon Marsh 1 of 1 with those kids and like they got to keep it, they were
Yeah.
stoked. Like I always remember that feeling. And I saw the dad, shout out to Josh. Whenever I see him, it's just like, cool, man. Like it's priceless, dude. It's
Absolutely.
priceless. And then another thing too, I'll shout out my mom and dad. My mom and dad, I think about them a lot. They're still alive, but I see the dads in the community. My dad never collected, but to see dads enjoy the time with their sons, like my dad and I did different stuff, but my mom was a part of like taking me to games and taking me to card shows. And I see the moms in the background with like a cheery smile and like it brings like a tear to my eye because I remember when my mom used to do those things for me. And there's just so much joy and amazing things. There's a lot going on in the hobby, but focus on what really matters. So
Beautiful thing, man. Beautiful thing. I love it. I love it. All right, man. We cleared the list. We got a high five. Throw it up. High five at the end of the high five. Boom.
let's
Uh,
go, man. That's cool.
you can check out my man Jay, Mojo Sports on YouTube, also at Mojo Sports LLCs on social media platforms. Also, please make sure you subscribe to the channel Dizzy Dub One and follow me on Twitter at Mr. K-Dub. Shout out to the High Five endorsers, Buck City Breaks, Rack of the Day, Eric Hecker on Twitter. Always remember, my friends, be the good. I mean, Jay, you just spoke so many good truths about this hobby, and I just appreciate you sharing them, man, because the hobby really is a good thing. And I love what you're doing. Keep up the good work, and I appreciate you joining me, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
All right, we'll catch you guys next time on the next Top 5.